Welcome back to Supporting Physician Spouses. I'm Katie.
And I'm Kendra. We are just approaching the beginning of the new year, and we thought it would be fun to look back over this year with Katie and I and the Supporting Physician Spouses podcast. So we're glad that you're here.
If you don't know us, I'm Katie and I have my master's of public health. And Kendra and I met through coaching. We were gearing up for match week. And I had a friend who was getting her coaching certification. And so I kind of
You were a
dabbled in
guinea
coaching with
pig.
her. I was a guinea pig. And I loved it. And I was like, okay, I know that residency is going to be hard, right? I wasn't born yesterday. And I really wanted some tools and I wanted to talk to a coach who might lend some great advice and kind of help me build a framework to set myself and my family up for success as we went into residency. So I was just Googling, found a database with a bunch of coaches, and that's where I found Kendra. And it was just really serendipitous, especially now after we've worked together for so long. I'm like, that was divine intervention.
Yes, it was.
No, it's been incredible. I did a discovery call with you, Kendra. We were able to explore things that really bring me life, fill my cup, and we came up with ideas of what I can continue on doing for me as we started residency, like finding a pottery class, making sure I'm trying to seek out social engagements, joining a study group to help me build my social support and do things that made me feel like me, even in a new area. And talking with you was so important because you were the first mentor I've had who was not on the same stage of the journey. I have friends who are 1 or 2 years ahead, but your wisdom looking back with at least 10 years of wisdom was so important. You've helped me to see my life bigger and more expansively and to build systems that would fill my family's needs in the long term and not just survive the day to day.
One of the things I've always loved about Katie is that she recognized it early on and she sought help. And so I was talking to somebody the other day and they're like, when is a good time for somebody to reach out? Well, it's today. I
Yeah.
really give you a lot of for that, for seeing it, recognizing it, and then taking action. I think you're going to be really prepared for the next step of your medical journey because you've done a lot of the work beforehand. It has been a pleasure. When I think about it though, so we've been in this relationship, is it 3 years?
Yeah,
Yeah.
almost. We did that discovery call, and then about a year later, I circled back and was like, okay,
Yeah.
residency is a real deal. I could probably use some more help.
And then it was last year, about this time, I told Katie, I think we should do a podcast together. We marinated on that for a little while, and then in the spring got serious and started putting things together. And this has just been an amazing and fun project to do. And unlike any other podcast that is out there right now, where you have somebody who's in the thick of it and somebody on the other side. And we're just talking about the truth and the reality of what it's like to be partnered with a physician. From the feedback we've gotten, it seems like it's been very valuable and well received. So we're excited to keep doing that into the new year.
Yes, definitely. So maybe let's transition and talk about some of our favorite episodes. How does that sound?
That sounds great. We're still a young fledgling podcast. So it's hard to pick one of the 32 because I feel like I have 32 kids and I love them all equally. But I would have to say that the podcast I did with my husband, so that was episode 14, is probably my favorite. I don't know if it's because it was the guest or it was the topic, but I think it was probably the guest. People know me because I'm either, I'm on social media, I'm on the podcast. And so I feel like people know me, but it was like introducing my husband to all of my friends who've never met him before. It was just a special time to get to share something with him. And I'm excited. He's going to join us on the podcast in January. Maybe that'll be my new favorite one, is the one that we do in January. But yeah, that's probably
Yeah.
my favorite. How about you?
Well, I was trying to look through to decide my favorite. Those who have been listening for a while, you kind of know a concept that really irks me, and it's the phrase, I couldn't have done this without you. And we've kind of explored why that is or what's a better phrase to use. And those are some of my favorite episodes. So in episode 15, we talked about renegotiating your marriage contract and when lowering your expectation goes too far. And so that was maybe our first recorded episode that we talked about it. And I loved that episode because that was kind of our first introduction of looking at a relationship and something that one can be negotiated, but that we can intentionally make changes in a way that beautifies and strengthens our relationship.
Yeah.
And then I will agree, the episode we recorded with my spouse was so fun to share the stage with him and have him enter into my world and my work for a bit, and to again kind of explore that concept with him and get to a place that we felt like we loved the language that we came up with together, which ended up being, look at the life that we're building together, like thank you for all that you're doing to so that we're building this life together. It was just so fun.
Yeah, that would probably be my second favorite episode for that reason, too, getting to talk to Talon, peek into your relationship a little bit more. Another thing that's been really fun about this podcast is that we've had the opportunity to connect with listeners. Overall, what we've discovered is that this is an experience that is being shared by so many people. It's unique, but it's not, because there are hundreds of thousands of us who were involved in a medical marriage or being partnered with a physician. And so even though sometimes it can feel really isolated, like you're the only one who's going through this, we want you to know you're not the only one. There are many more. And this podcast is just a little glimpse into some of that.
So with that, we kind of want to share some of the reviews we've gotten this year, and receiving your feedback either here on the podcast episodes, on the platforms that you listen to the podcast, or on social media, or those of you who have popped in on our office hours. That is the fuel to our motivation to keep going. It's really how it is blessing your lives. We have Molly who said, "Thank you, ladies, so much for making this podcast. My husband is a fourth-year medical student and on his away rotations. I feel so seen and heard by you two."
Thank you, Molly.
I know, so nice.
It is. We've got one here from, it's not a name, it's M3R1215. And she says, "Love, love, love. You do not have to be a physician spouse to benefit from Katie and Kendra. The tips they teach are relevant to anyone with a spouse and with all relationships. They are fun to listen to, and the back and forth is entertaining. Katie comes in with her real world issues, and Kendra gives the doable techniques to manage them. Give them a listen. Tuesdays will be your new favorite day of the week." Thank you. Tuesday is definitely my favorite day of the week.
Yeah, I love Tuesdays too. That's so good. Okay, and one more. This is from Peter, and he says, "I have resonated with this podcast so much. Thank you for producing it. Looking forward to future episodes."
Thank you, Peter. Yeah, we actually got to meet Peter. Did I meet him or did we meet him?
I think it was you.
Yeah,
Yep.
I got to meet Peter online. Thank you, Peter. All right, here's another one from Utah Gal called "A Must Hear for Every Medical Journey." She says, "I absolutely love this podcast. I've learned so many valuable things from it. It's truly a gem. I only wish it had existed during the first year of our medical journey. That said, I'm so grateful to have discovered it now, even post-school. The journey definitely continues, and the tips and tricks are still incredibly relevant and helpful. Huge thank you to Kendra and Katie for creating such an amazing resource." Thank you so much, Utah Gal.
Oh my gosh, so nice.
I know.
We read these and then it still feels like the first time I'm reading them. Like,
So many great reviews. If you haven't left a review, or if you haven't reached out to us to share your thoughts and comments about what you'd like to hear, we want to invite you to do that. You can always email us at hello@supportingphysicianspouses.com, or you can send us a DM on Instagram at supportingphysicianspouses.
yeah, and with that, we have plans and exciting things to come in 2026, but we'd love to hear from you, our listeners, those who are devout, who are loving the content that we're coming up with. What is one way that you would love to see this community serve you, that would really fill your cup and help you on your medical journey? If you have an answer to that question, please reach out to us too, because we would love to learn and hear from you.
Absolutely. And then we've got some really exciting episodes coming up at the beginning of this year. We've got one talking about how Katie and I aren't doing New Year's resolutions this year. And then we're going to be talking about how our families are like a ecosystem. And then most exciting, we are going to be tackling the topic of fair play. If you're familiar with fair play, it's a very popular book by Eve Rodsky talking about equality of time and or making the invisible load visible. And so we're
Yep.
going to do 3 episodes there. You heard about them in a previous episode, but Katie and I, we've got one that we're doing together. And then we're inviting each of our spouses to do an episode with us to talk about how we've been able to implement that in our homes.
Yeah, so good. The question I have for you, Kendra, as we
Yeah.
wrap up is what have you loved most about creating this, starting this project, and what are your hopes for the future?
Oh, great question. I've always wanted to do a podcast, but the thought of doing a podcast just myself or having people on to interview just didn't seem like the right fit. And so I really do
Mm.
feel like it was divine intervention last year when I thought Katie would be the person to do a podcast with. She would be brilliant. I knew that we would have some really worthwhile conversations here on the podcast. And so that has certainly been a highlight of the year is getting to do this with you. And
Mm.
then thinking ahead to 2026 is going to be an exciting year all the way around. I mentioned previously that, during this season of almost dormancy is when ideas can really start to fill your mind. And so I'm really just kind of leaning back into that and just imagining what this next year could be. I'm just thrilled to be on the podcast with you and to be thinking about better ways to serve our community going forward.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, well, how about you?
I love podcasts, and I don't know if I was in the camp of wanting to start one. I always thought I would maybe be good at it, but already knew that starting things by myself, it doesn't go well. I
Yeah.
lose steam pretty quick. So being able to see a project through to this point makes me feel really proud. And every Tuesday is just as exciting for me as it probably is for you listeners. I love listening to our episodes. I relearn and I feel energized again, even though I've already had the conversation. And just to see our growth, I just feel a lot of pride. I'm proud of us. And my hopes for next year are that the sense of community here just continues to grow, that there's something in place where there's more interaction with our listeners, whether that's maybe in person or
Mm.
or online in a space that's not as loud as social media potentially,
Yeah.
because that's what this is all about, is helping the individual and being a part of this community. So
All right, so we're 2 days before a new year. We just want to wish all of you a very, very happy new year. And we hope that going into 2026, you are feeling rested and resourced. And stay tuned for next week where you hear about why Katie and I were not doing New Year's resolutions this year.
Happy New Year! We are thankful for all of you listeners, and we'll talk soon.